Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR and Scoreline.ie's weekly rugby podcast. Well, this is a special. We're going to focus on Kilkenny College today, and joining us, you might recognise the man to my left. You're right,
left.
Johnny Tobin. He's on with us every week talking everything Carlow, Kilkenny, Leinster, Ireland and Munster and Connacht and Ulster rugby and everything in between. And below me is Colm Moloney. He's with Kilkenny College, the Director of Rugby there. Colm, nice to have you on the show with us.
Yeah, thanks very much, Stephen. Great to be on with you, and Johnny too also. A familiar face to us in Kilkenny.
Absolutely. Well known around your parts now at this stage, I'd say. Lads, we're going to talk everything Kilkenny College, as I said. So we'll sort of cover a lot of ground tonight. We'll talk about what's going on in the college, I suppose, at the moment, plans for the future and all that as well. What a lot of people probably don't realise, a lot of players on our local teams, Carlow, Kilkenny and Tullow, they're in Kilkenny College as well. There's a good tie-in locally with the college in terms of players and everything. So we'll talk about all that. And of course, there's a lot of players that went through Kilkenny College that you might see in professional ranks at the moment as well, that you mightn't realise came from Kilkenny College as well. So Colm, I'm going to start with you. You're the Director of Rugby, Kilkenny College. Obviously, it's a huge sport and a huge part of the college sporting scene as well. It's a big operation, isn't it? Can you talk us through all that in your role?
Yeah, sure. Well, I suppose I should say really that I have two kind of roles here at Kilkenny College. First and foremost, I'm the head of boys boarding, and then also I'm the Director of Rugby. Kilkenny College is a huge school with a very big heritage. We nearly have 1,000 kids, nearly 500 boarders, which makes us the largest boarding school in Ireland. And also it plays a particular role in the Church of Ireland community as well. Although not all our students are Church of Ireland, they're from all different walks of life. But predominantly, certainly, the Church of Ireland community play a large role. In terms of rugby, only 2 weeks ago there, I was actually doing a tally on this, Stephen, that we had 220 boys involved in rugby on that particular Wednesday. So that's featuring 3 teams at under 14, 3 teams at under 15, 3 teams at juniors, a transition year team, and then a senior 1, a senior 2, and 3. And then I suppose not to also forget that we have girls rugby here, and a budgeting team there, which is growing all the time. We're hitting about 30 girls. And schools are a little bit behind the clubs in relation to the girls rugby, but we're getting there. So it's a big operation, minding the lads during the week, and then obviously we have a real quality of coaches as well involved in rugby. So from first year to seniors, and then with girls as well, we're looking at nearly 20 odd coaches who are paid coaches, and some have past experience at international level. Some indeed Leinster Senior Cup winner in terms of Peter Swanepoel. We've the likes of Steve Ashmore as well, who's recently involved in Kilkenny's Towns Cup win. You've got Jeff Carter, who in fairness was the stalwart of rugby here for an awful long time, still very much involved. And then we've got Wes Carter as well, Caroline Jenkinson. Look, the list goes on and on. We're very, very lucky, and we're very lucky to have the likes of that man sitting to your right as I look as well, who, all the different coaches bring so many qualities, complementary qualities. It's hugely important. And Johnny's kind of link in there with Carlow.IT is something that I'm hoping to grow with the IT and with Kilkenny College, because there's a bit of synergy there in terms of they have a lot of sports-based programs up there, degrees, etc., and we're always on the lookout for coaches and experience. And look, I must say as well, Stephen, Kilkenny College isn't all about rugby. We're huge on the hockey side. We're also big on the badminton. And we're also big on inventing and athletics and all that sort of stuff. But I know we're particularly concentrating on rugby here today.
Yeah, absolutely. That's serious numbers in the school to be playing rugby as well, and to have like nearly 3 teams at every level, right up along as well. And they come in naturally interested, or can you convert a few people to give it a try and sort of, from first years in?
Yeah, I suppose the fact that we're a boarding school, and I suppose we go back to the old-fashioned values of rugby, there's a kind of a place for everybody on a team. You know, if you're big, if you're small, if you're fast, if you're quick, whatever the case may be, there's a position for you. So in terms of all of our kids come from generally the southeast direction, up as far as the Red Cow, over to Laois, obviously Carlow, Kilkenny, Wexford, Wicklow. So they're all coming from different areas. So rugby is that lovely sport, isn't it? That kind of, they all have a little bit in common and they know something about it. And then when they get here, they're joining a big wider family, and it's just an easier transition. Look, in today's day and age, you know, you got to respect people for who they are, but obviously we really encourage them to be involved in rugby, particularly on the boys' side as they come in, because it's just one of those team sports that, look, everybody has a spot in, you know. Now, interesting enough, in terms of experience, I have to say, which is a lot different when I was younger, the clubs now have just stepped up their levels just hugely. I mean, the underage setup in clubs now is hugely positive. They've all had a very positive introduction to rugby. They've all had lots of volunteer coaches involved. You know, they're looking at rugby. They're looking at Leinster players. They're looking at the fact that it's now a career option. So all these things have made rugby a real kind of number one kind of sport, really, particularly on the boys' side. But as I said, growing with the girls.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. And obviously, with the amount of players playing and the amount of teams, there's an awful lot of logistics. As you said, you're up against other sports in the school as well. You know, the students have to study and they have to do their lessons and all that sort of stuff as well. School, like, obviously takes a central part in that. How do you logistically organize all that? And what sort of a team have you got there to do that?
Yeah, well, look, I'm very lucky in a sense that, look, it is a team effort. We're like a little village here. Everyone puts their shoulder to the wheel. I mean, we have buses going out of here. We've people coming out of classes. We've early lunches. We've takeaway lunches. We've got to get coaches places and to make sure they're well resourced. It is a bit of an animal, and it was a job that I originally got involved in. Was what they called the rugby administrator last year, which meant that really I was looking after the kind of admin side of things. But it was probably clear from us in Kilkenny that we needed to have a director of rugby, somebody who was solely responsible for it all. Because when things go wrong, you need to have somebody to blame, or you need to have somebody as a go-to guy or girl to go to. And look, the board very kindly asked me to take that role. I think it's gone very well, but it's not done solely on my shoulders. I have everything from Trish in the reception, who helps me with buses, to Tony up in the kitchen, who packs all the sandwiches for different people. I have Ellen and Trish in finance, who are paying invoices, usually without too much trouble or making me sign my complete life away. I've people like Johnny and all those coaches. So it's a team. It really is, I have to say, between the principal, Claver Ryan, or the acting principal, as I should say, as she is now. It's just a huge team effort. And if it wasn't for all of those people, as I said, when you're talking about 220 fellas, throw on 30 girls on top of it, there's a bit of logistics. But look, I suppose you make an important point. We're a school first and foremost, okay? And that's the most important thing, is the teaching and learning. So obviously we try where we can not to interrupt that. And we kind of have that kind of value system where we expect the lads in the panels, all panels. And this isn't, Kilkenny Rugby isn't just about elite Division 1A, Leinster leagues or senior cups. This is about C teams. It's about seconds teams. It's about the love of the game. So I suppose my role as director of rugby, in some senses, the elite team and development teams, they look after themselves largely. The real thing is trying to get fixtures for those second and third teams, because unfortunately a lot of schools are just concentrating on the first team, and that's something we're always battling against as well.
Yeah, it never sort of clicked with me that might be an issue as well. But like you said, it's a good point. There's a lot of resources, a lot of effort going into senior school sides, and obviously, like you said, to the detriment of the seconds and thirds and the other teams down along, trying to get them games. Your girls rugby is fairly new to the school as well. How did you get that up and running, and what sort of the plans for the future with that?
Yeah, well, look, I joined Kilkenny College about 3 years ago now, or maybe more, from College, which is obviously a 7-day all-boys setup. But I happen to have 4 kids myself, one of who's a boy and 3 who was girls. So I probably had a natural inkling as they saw my son start to play rugby with Newbridge Rugby Club, that they kind of wanted to be involved as well. So when I came down here, I was always keen to be involved in that. Nicola Friday, who's the current captain of the Irish senior team, is actually a past pupil of Kilkenny College. And in fairness to her, she was actually a little bit, I think, in a constructive way, critical of the school in the sense that it didn't offer a whole lot for senior girls. And they did have a course in TY, but there wasn't a huge amount to follow through. Now, I suppose, look, people have different views on that, but look, at the end of the day, the demand is there now. So we've got kids who want to do it, and our job was to facilitate the kids in any way we can. So that's really driving the growth there. And I suppose the likes of Nicola Friday, having her as a role model for the girls, and the professional contracts being handed out now by the RFU as well. Like, it is another potential, career path or structure for the girls as well. So look, I suppose it's a marriage of all of that, really. The clubs have got the march on us. They have very good setups, and the girls are coming in here saying, listen, why haven't we got more school matches? So they've laid down the challenge, and I'm trying to do my best to resource them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeps you on your toes, and like you said, it's a good complaint as well that people are complaining. It means people care and that you can get stuff done out of that as well. And you were talking about Nicola Friday there as well, and she's obviously an Irish international. And Johnny up in his neck of the woods as well, he's got Dana O'Brien, another sort of young lady that's shot onto the Irish senior team over in Japan, got her first cap over there. But like, she's only up the road in relative terms. You've got more role models for young girls there to say, like, look at this, their senior contracts there. Like, it's not as big a deal and as far away as you might think, if you're really into your rugby.
Yeah, and it's a pathway for college too as well. Both. There's scholarships available. There's extra points. There's extra points to be gained, and I tell you what's a big draw as well is, and it's more so in the boys' game, but the States as well. The United States are really buying into rugby now, and so it's about options. And I suppose all you want young people to do is have options. We've another girl actually in 5th year at the minute, Emer Sweetnam. And she's a Leinster rep as well. I was just talking to Owen Sheriff earlier on this afternoon about her, and who's coming from a very successful club setup and using the likes of Emer to help grow the game inside as well. It's hugely important on the back of Nicola Friday and that kind of headline figures that they all help.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Johnny, we'll bring you into the conversation. We've been sitting there on the bench for the last.
I love listening to Colm.
13 minutes. Yeah, no, Colm is great speaker. Well able to talk. Trying to get Johnny to stop sometimes now.
I know what that's like, Stephen. I know what that's like.
Especially when we're doing commentaries. Johnny, like, obviously you to explain. I'll get you to explain your sort of role with Kilkenny College. Colm has covered a lot of that stuff there as well, but just from your point of view.
Well, my role at the moment is TY head coach. I believe Colm is that.
Yeah, that's it, Johnny.
That's the role. We look after that, but I'm going with senior thirds tomorrow to Clongowes. But I've been in various teams here since I've started. I've been with the juniors, the JCTAs, JCTBs, and I've been with TY 5th year team last year and TY team now this year again. Hoping to do the double and get a TY 5th year league win again this year, which would be really, really good. And I just want to applaud Colm on that last year. That was kind of a league that was being kind of pushed to the side, but Colm kept fighting for it to get it. And in the end, Kilkenny College went on to win it, which was really worth it, to be fair. Just touch base on then the local players. I think there's about, close to 60 players between Kilkenny, Carlow and Tullow in Kilkenny College. Playing actively, regularly actively at the moment. Tullow have, I know offhand, obviously I rave about Tullow, but Tullow have close to about 20 lads involved in the junior setup. There's actually 12 of them on one team in the second years. And then we have about maybe another 10 to 15 in the senior setup as well. So it's close to about 35 Tullow lads down here in Kilkenny College at the moment, which we hope to get back to Tullow when they pass through at 6th year. And get them back better as well, because I have to say the quality of coaching here is second to none. To be fair, like when you start off in first year there, you're going down to the likes of Caroline Jenkinson and Keith Southern, 2 quality coaches. You go into second year, then you're with Wes Carter and Richie Nicholson, and 2 other really quality coaches. You hit junior, then you're with Aidan McDonald, Jeff Carter, and Johan Lewis. They speak for themselves. And then you get up to senior setup then with Wes Carter, Steve Ashmore, and Peter Swanepoel. Like you're in a great pool of people. Like, you're around a top quality pool of coaches, to be fair. So we're blessed that way with coaching staff. I know it probably makes Colm's job a little bit easier having good coaches that way, but it's incredible. It's a really incredible setup, to be fair. And someone who's coming from a really strong background in clubs to come into a schools, it's completely complex for me because clubs rugby is ran completely different to this. It's like you fend on your own here. You can pick up the phone and ring the youth coordinator in the club, but he might be able to do a whole lot for you. But if you ring Colm and need something done, it's organised. If he can't do it, someone does it. So it's a really good setup. Really, really impressive, to be fair.
Never realised the numbers on the local teams, Johnny, until you said it there. That's quite incredible.
Yeah,
like you said. Yeah,
Carlow have about 20, I'd say, maybe 25, and Kilkenny would be the lesser of the lot because, like, a lot of the Kilkenny lads probably go to Kieran, to be honest, about and play Ireland. But there's probably about 15 to 16 Kilkenny lads. So all in all, I'd say there's somewhere close to 100 between the clubs playing here when you actually weigh it all in, and girls included. So it's incredible.
Just on that, Johnny, as well. Like Stephen, I have to say as well, like the likes of Tullow, to be fair, have been fantastic to Kilkenny. In terms of providing pitches and support and that kind of stuff. And in fairness, Kilkenny as well, the rugby club, they're probably we're probably missing a little bit of a link, to be honest with you, with Kilkenny in some respects. But they've also been incredibly generous with us. But I suppose that Johnny will be very good on the Tullow lads and the local lads and different things. I kind of take another slightly view that I really don't care where they come from, because once they come here, they're wearing the red and black of Kilkenny College. And you're trying to foster that, which is important. But it has to be said that all the clubs around have shown us great support, because the schools game and the club game are very much independent of each other. And it's nice to have that crossover from time to time, because we're 2 little islands a lot of the time. And it's good to see that link up.
Yeah, a very important link up as well, because you can see the benefits, as Johnny said. You get young lads into Kilkenny College and they go back to their clubs as senior J1s or whatever it is. And, as Johnny says, you hope that have improved, in their time in Kilkenny College. And
our last 3 years of captains have been Kilkenny College.
Yeah.
Past players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scott Callback and Kyle Hambridge.
Yeah.
Past players.
Kyle.
And if you look at our first team on our Towns Cup day, like John Hambridge, Kyle Hambridge, Scott Callback, Jordan Leyburn, Dylan Leyburn, all past pupils here. So it's great to get that return back to your clubs. And I know a lot of other clubs will be linking that as well. And I know Portlaoise should have a strong base here as well. Gorey would have a strong base here. We actually have some players from Byrne Hall and everything coming down. So a lot of clubs will reap the reward. And you have to admit it, you have to hold your hands up. They're getting 3 days coaching and 1 day games compared to 2 evenings and a game on a Saturday in a club. Like, so the rugby is kind of bred into you here, like,
Yeah,
well, what's good about that, Johnny, as well is, and I was involved in a study there with Hendrik Kruger in Leinster, is the fall off of players at so when they go from a Leinster school to when they go to their club or Dublin or whatever it is. And one of the strengths, I think, of Kilkenny College is our drop off is actually much less than other places, let's say the likes of Clongowes and Newbridge, and that's where those local ties come in, and that's very important.
Yeah,
it's massive. Yeah, it's massive. Yeah.
So, lads, recent seasons, obviously, I know you're saying it's not all about the senior teams in Kilkenny College. You try to get a good balance, and like you said, trying to get games for the J2, J3s, or whatever it is down along the different teams. Senior wise as well, getting within touch and distance the last couple of years in those competitions. Obviously the aim is to go all the way as well, but seem to be in a good place in terms of, players and the system that you have in Kilkenny College to be able to, hopefully, push on and make that dream a reality.
Yeah, look, I mean, and a hats off to Johnny in relation to last year, that TY 5th year league. Winning is a little bit like a habit, and you've got to get a taste for it, and you've got to want it and to drive it on. And I suppose Kilkenny for so long have been, cyclical, as in terms of have a couple of teams, make a great stab of it. But I suppose part of the mentality, I think a little bit here, has been slightly about just competing, and we haven't broken through to actually winning, and that's why Johnny's win in that TY fifth year is so important, because those fellas got a taste of it and they wanted it, and everyone around them gets a taste of it. So, we're trying to build in that habit. I mean, last year, Johnny, would be fair to say that if we sat down at around about this time, we would have thought that a quarter final in the Senior Division League 1A wouldn't have been a bad result, which would have qualified us for the Senior Cup. That would have been considered probably a success. We weren't sure about. We had a very small sixth year, which was an unusual anomaly in Kilkenny, and we weren't quite sure. But in fairness to Pierce Wanapole, Stephen Ashmore, to Johnny and the likes, is they got that, they fostered that nice that X factor that comes with a team. And they actually went on and competed in the final of the Division 1A League against Gonzaga, losing very narrowly on a December evening in Energia up in Donnybrook. And to be honest with you, every game they seemed to get better and they seemed to grow. And in fairness, so did Gonzaga. And then when it came to the Senior Cup, I think it'd be fair to say, Johnny, we were a little bit disappointed. Had a reasonably good win against Prez, I think it was, in the first round. And then we drew St. Mary's. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it was one of those days where just the world conspired against you, but I think we lost to a St. Mary's side there, which probably in truth, I think we should have beaten. And I'm not just sure if sometimes the big name schools, sometimes maybe can rattle our players a little bit, and they've shown that they can beat them, and they need to get on and kind of put them to the sword and win. What would you say, Johnny?
Yeah, I'd agree, and I actually agree exactly with that point. I think for a long time, and in my time here, this is my fourth season here. Every time you go to play the likes of Clongowes, you go to play the likes of Gonzaga, Terranure, all these Black Rocks. Everyone has this fear of them, and it's so daunting to go play them. I remember, it's funny, my first day here, I played a Black Rock team with the JCT Bees, and we beat them. I remember the score 34-17, but it wasn't a Black Rock Bees. It was a Black Rock D's or F's or something. But I was so thrilled that we'd beat a Black Rock team. And I was thinking, oh, geez, this is deadly. But last year's, and I think it's really important, I know I've harped on a bit about TY in fifth year, but last year we beat Clongowes. We got a walkover by Zaga. We beat Jards. We beat Rossgrey. And we beat, who else did we beat in that? With another team in it, but they're all big schools that we'd beaten, that we would have had fear of before. And I think that'll throw a curveball this year. I don't think Kilkenny College needs to be afraid of anybody. Kilkenny College Rugby is as good, if not better, than most schools at this moment in time. And last week's senior win proves that. 31-7 at halftime, down 42-36, come back and win. That shows incredible character and no fear whatsoever. And they were playing a Munchins team that have some quality players, 4 internationals, 8 interpros. And I believe the fear is gone. I really hope it's gone. That dauntingness of going to play Blackrock, going to play Gonzaga, going to play Clongowes, Terranure. I hope it's gone, because it has played a big factor in games.
Yeah, it's true, Johnny, because you always think of the Black Rocks, the Marys, all those teams, and it's just this aura about the Dublin schools.
Look, they've earned it. Let's call it. They have earned it. But there's no reason for Kilkenny College to be afraid of them. And I do believe they played a big part in last year's junior cycle as well, losing the Jards in Donnybrook that day, playing even Newbridge junior team. Newbridge will be highly regarded in schools rugby as well. I think there's just a little bit of fear there when we go to play these teams. I don't know where it came from, but I hope it's shifting now to Kilkenny College shouldn't fear anybody.
Johnny, I suppose where I thought that was a little bit evident last year, and I'm very confident we can overcome it, by the way. But if you looked at our juniors, they got to the Division 1A final. They knocked out some cracking teams along the likes of Gonzaga and others. And then they also got to the plate final as well, and just came up short in both those finals. I mean, I don't think you could have been in more finals than we were in, but we just couldn't just kick on and through. But that's why, and not to be blowing smoke with Johnny and his TY fifth year thing, that's why that win was so critical, because that's a step back in the right direction. And also as well, I suppose, is our representatives that we've had last year and this year, like Irish schoolboys. 3 effectively Irish schoolboys is a huge achievement for any school. But particularly Kilkenny, even more so, being on the periphery of Leinster. And if we're honest, we're out of the Dublin scene, and we're a little bit far down the road. So for us to be up at the top table in terms of Irish schoolboys is obviously, it's a credit to the lads themselves and all the coaches that they've had along the way. But that really helps us too, and that drives on the next generation. And then the few lads involved in Leinster, that again drives everyone on. So it's a rising tide lifts all boats, and all these little things are just hugely important, like the TY fifth year win, like the representative caps, like Nicola Friday. All these kind of things are, I don't know, it could be a bit wistful of me, but I get the feeling that there's an awful lot going on and an awful lot of positive stuff, and it can only help us and move us in one direction, So I'm a little bit excited for, what we can achieve, and obviously fingers crossed that we get there.
Absolutely. Johnny, you're the man to motivate them.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I think the main goal last year with that TY fifth year team was just enjoyment. It started off with, we rotated 63 players in the 6 games. Like that's not down to me. That's incredible to the school to have that quality, to keep rotating in big games, in Clongowes, putting on lads that we just rotate and just get them game time and see what it's about. And it wasn't about winning at the start. It really wasn't. It was about getting these lads game time. I'd give Peter a ring then and say, listen, I think this lad should go up to E, blah, blah, blah. And to be fair to Peter and Steve and Wes and myself, we managed it very, very well. That we got to rotate lads, and we kept lads back because we saw the bigger picture, and everyone was available at the right time for everybody who needed them. So last year was just really, really incredible year with the seniors help.
Yeah, but I think also, Johnny, in fairness to you, and this is hugely important when it comes to rugby and team sports, if the fellas want to play for their coach, that brings an additional, 10%. And these all these little percentages add up, and it's kind of that little X factor. And I think, to be fair, with Peter and Steve as well at senior level, and other coaches, they want to play for the lads outside them, not to be the old romantic and stuff like that. But they're playing for their man outside them. They're playing for their coach, whatever the case may be. Is that when you get that mix right, it can be hugely positive,
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with you. And I think at all levels now, to be fair to say, I think at all levels now, every coach in every position in this school currently at this moment in time is held in very, very high regard by their players. Yeah. So I do believe that, and it would.
Yeah, and if I could just highlight one coach in particular, Wes Carter, who I know was involved in the Towns Cup win for Kilkenny, and he was also represented in Leinster Junior. I think he captained that side, Johnny.
Yeah.
Wes started with the current second years back in first year, and he was following a plan where he wanted to work with them as they went up. And my first feeling on that was, I'm not so sure. I think the lads should be exposed to other coaches, and sometimes the same coach isn't a good thing. But I just have to highlight Wes there, like doing phenomenal work there at second year, which isn't the showbiz end of schools rugby. People are always, who's your senior coach, who's your junior coach, that kind of stuff. But Wes is doing serious work there with those second years, and they're coming along really well. And he's lost a few players to juniors this year, but what that's actually, it's been like a yellow card effect in rugby, where they've lost a couple of their top players, we'll say, but that's actually meant that all the rest of them have stepped up a bit. So I'd certainly be very hopeful for them when they go through to particularly next year. I think just in fairness to Wes, and Johnny's right to highlight all the different coaches, and I don't want to be focusing on a couple, but Wes has done great work as well, in fairness to him.
Yeah, it's actually incredibly exciting to see what's going to happen. Not only, with Wes, especially with that group, because I do believe he has nailed the link with him and his players. I do believe that. But in the next year to 2 years, and even maybe stretch it to 3, it's really exciting to see what's going to happen here between junior cycle 1st to 3rd years and then senior cycle 4th to 6th years. Some really good stuff in place, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, anything else to add, lads, before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. Did we cover talk about the internet or the Leinster players and the whole?
Yeah, go for it, Johnny.
Do you want to go with them, Colm?
No, you go ahead. I'll jump in with you.
Yeah, I just think like it's important to name these people because they're incredible, like, you know, and it's a massive achievement. So like, probably start with the oldest going down. Like, you've Harry Rogers over in the Connacht setup at the moment. Adam Shirley then in with the Leinster 19s. Stephen Smith and Sean Nocton, Leinster 19s as well. Adam Watchorn, their Leinster 18s. Emer Sweetnam, then Leinster 18s as well. I don't think I've left anyone out there.
No. And you've got obviously Paddy Bramley, who's entered then.
Paddy Bramley, sorry, yeah. Paddy Bramley as well, yeah, entered in later, yeah. So like from the school there, like you've 6 interpros there, and all in the senior cycle of the setup at the moment. But that's incredible, you know. That like for such a small rugby school to have so many at that standard, it's incredible to see.
Yeah, just on that, Johnny, I was down in the 6th year block where the borders are, the Wolf block, and the lads were chatting, and they were chatting to one of the fellas who's been representative, and they were saying to him, "You never played for Ireland, did you?" And they were giving him a bit of jip and all the rest of it, having the crack. And the really great thing about our lads is, to be fair to them, and Emer as well, is that there's a great humility. They're not superstars. Nobody's giving them special treatment. They don't run away with themselves. They're very much just part of the herd, you know. I mean, Stephen Smith, just talking about our current players, if you like, Stephen Smith has just been outstanding. I mean, Sean Nocton, I think, has probably never, although he has been capped, I don't think he's probably got the pitch time he should have done. And I mean, he's just, the two of them are nearly fabulous professionals, you know, and just top men. And they go around the place like they're an ordinary Joe, and that's a credit to the kind of atmosphere that's in Kilkenny College. But like we're very, very proud of them. And we had a rugby meeting, I think, for the first time, where I brought in all the panels, all the groups, girls and boys, all ages, and we recognised those players. Now, we didn't recognise them with any prizes or any certificates or that. We just brought them up and shook their hand and said thank you and well done. And just to see the pride that they had, and to see first years then see these guys and girls wearing representative jerseys and represent their country. I mean, the Irish schoolboy, I mean, that standard, and to be playing at that level is just, you know, is one of the great achievements that any player could ever have. And to see them stand up in front of the school and first years come up afterwards and ask them about it, that's where you start to get a culture and change things, I think, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Very something to be proud of. Johnny, Colm, thanks a million for talking to us on this Kilkenny College special. Great. I've learned a ton about the school anyway, just on tonight's show. If you're listening on Spotify or on your podcast, you can watch this if you want to see our lovely faces. It's on our Scoreline.ie YouTube channel as well. Yeah, it all depends if you don't want to fry it or not. You can watch it in full there as well and share it as well. Great to chat to Colm Moloney, Director of Rugby in Kilkenny College, and Johnny Tobin, of course, from the Knock On, our weekly panelist, I suppose we'll call you, Johnny, representing.
We call a lot of yokes.
Tulla Rugby Club. Oh yeah, absolutely. Lads, thanks a million for your time.
Stephen, thank you very much. Thanks, Johnny.